Boom, pow zap here. What we're going to do today, or over the next couple days, is we're going to build a little dog pen that is adjacent to our back porch. And we're going to square it off with the porch and the house. And it's just going to be very simple. It's all going to be the end post for the fence and a gate. That's all it's going to be. But we'll step by step through it. I've dug the corner hole in the approximate area of where the corner of the fence is going to be. But I'm not really sure. I can adjust it later. But what I'm going to do before I make sure it's in the right place, I'm going to put it down on the ground just a little bit. They make tools for this, which will run about 40 bucks, 40, 50 bucks. But I'm just going to use a piece of wood and a sledgehammer, knock it down in there a couple inches just so it stays in place. I've fairly leveled the pole. We've got the strings running to the building, and it's even with the side. Even with the side this way. So I'm going to hammer this down further and then pour some cement on it. But when you're looking at the pole, this is the actual position of where the fence is going to be, not at the edge. So I pulled it up to that side, and it is level with, or it is even with the side of the building. And the same thing for this side. It's a little bit out. Whenever I pinch it in to the middle where the fence is going to be, it evens up with the building. So you want it square. You want it all lopsided looking. When selecting the fence posts, if you get them online, like Facebook or wherever, if you get them used like this, make sure that they're not rusted through. Make sure they're not weak, because right there where they pour the cement, it tends to rust up a lot, corrode, partially caused by the cement. Also, you're lucky enough to get the pieces for it. This one's going to be a gate piece, and it's going to run a fence line. So I have almost all the hardware on here that I'll need. Otherwise, you can buy kits for it, or piece them together from wherever you bought them from, if they just have them in all separated. I'm using 4-foot fence, and what I don't want it to do is go down in the ground below 4 feet. Actually, a little above 4 feet is desirable. And I think I have enough. 4'1". So we'll see. Got my holes dug for 3 of the posts. I'm not going to be able to dig the last one until I can measure the fence or the gate. I'm going to mix up some concrete. I'm going to do it in a bucket with a paint mixer, because I don't feel like dragging my cement mixer out here.
Can't you just pour the cement down in the hole and pour water in it?
You can, but it mixes better whenever you know it's almost liquid. You can actually just pour the cement down there and let them sit and naturally harden, but I like to get them set in place before I start hanging the fence on them.
So they got water down in the bucket yet?
Yep.
Oh. Camera footage is
sketchy.
Yeah. Does it take very long for it to set?
Yeah, it'll be overnight before I can hang stuff on it.
Oh, okay.
Wiggling around makes it fill in all the little spaces.
So you don't fill it all the way to the...
Yeah, it should work, right?
Yeah, I'll keep them from slipping through there because we got little tiny dogs.
The reason I have to pour away from this far away, or the dig this far away from the house, is because there's a foundation under there.
Yeah.
So our end posts, I want to make them at least 4 feet out of the ground, so that, because the fence is 4 feet. So it's 4 foot 2.5. That's fine. Be a little above. You just don't want it below. You might get, if you buy poles, you might get some with cement on them. They're real easy to take off. I need this piece right here to keep make space between the wall so the dogs can't fit through. So I'm going to bust it up and show you. It only takes a couple whacks. It's not hard to get off. That's what she said.
Gosh. Better cover your eyes.
Just close your eyes when you do it.
Don't want a rock flying up and hit me in my eye.
And that's it.
Cool. Nice.
We don't
So
need
we just set that up there on the foundation there.
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot to hold it in place. Just to keep, just stuff. When we've got little ankle biter dogs, it's not going to be able to push them out. In place better. I have, well, if you'll line the gate up there. I've lined the gate up with the pole so it lines up with the string. It lines up with the side of the porch. And I marked it down there. I don't know if you see it. There's a little hole I put in the center of this. So I know exactly where to put the other pole. I'll go ahead and dig that and place it so they'll all be set by tomorrow and I could string the fence. Woo! Them dogs running around in the background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up with the gate. I'm going to make it a little bit tight, but not too tight. Because A, I don't want to have a lot of room in between the gate and the pole. And B, whenever the fence is stretched, it'll pull pressure this way and pull the pole slightly that way. Just because it's the nature of the fence is kind of stretchy. So I'm going to probably fit it in almost like that. And we'll go ahead and set that one too. It's a little bit off center on purpose. Also the cement on the fence side will keep it from pulling so much too. This has got to be, I forgot to hammer it down before I put the cement in there, but luckily there's not a root up under it, or at least it hasn't been so far. So I gotta get this down to about 40.
2 inches.
Yeah.
So it's even.
1 foot, 2.5. That's good. Here's a roll of used chain link fence, and it's got to be cleaned up because it's got vines all growing through it. Yeah, so I want to be pulling these vines out, and we'll look at getting the right lengths. Got most of the vines out of it. I need to cut it about right here, or to have it fit to one side. And so here's what you can do. You straighten this wire out, and you can straighten it on the top, and you can just untwist a piece. And it untwist out, and it'll cut the fence in half without having to cut any of the actual pieces. And you could use that same piece if later on I need to weave together and just put it back together again. I have it straightened now. This little piece is unhooked. All I'm going to do is untwist it. This one piece just unravels out. See the end of there? 2 pieces. Each end post is going to have this hardware. It's going to have a cap. It's going to have the top rail hardware. It's going to have the bar hardware. What this does is it holds the bar to the pole, and which holds the fence to the pole. So it goes in there like that. However, it's when the fence is already up, it goes right through the end of the fence and keeps it tense. You'll have one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom roughly for even expansion. If you have a taller fence, you might even have more, but this is just for the standard 4 foot. What I've done now is I've aligned the fence up next to the pole, and all I did is simply push this bar. So right now it doesn't have a lot of tension, it slides up and down. And I've just pushed this bar through the edge of the fence all the way down. That'll hold the fence in place so I can put tension on it. Keeps it even. What I'm going to do in order to create tension on this fence is I've hooked it up to just a tie down strap. I'm going to use it as a little mini come along. I got it as a slight angle from the pole, so I don't want to push the pole out of place with a harsh angle. And I'm going to tighten up this tension to pull the fence so it's not as wobbly. A cargo strap that I'm using as a come-along, a little mini come-along, tied to the fence puller. And I've cocked the hardware at an angle so I can insert the tension rod down through all three of them. Get the last one to go in there. There it goes. And now all I gotta do is let the pressure off and it'll bring it back around and put tension on the fence. They pull around mostly?
Yeah.
So. Alright. And all I'll do is I'll get them back in the right position and tighten them up a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah, it's great. Probably a little wigglier than I want, but I'll put a top rail on that will keep it from wiggling. Okay. Now I would separate this the same way as I did the one that was on the ground, except with this being here, it's harder to twist this out. Actually, I think I'll try and do it. What do you know? I didn't have to cut it all up and it's twisting out of there. So, easy peasy. Hate all those little pieces of wire. They get lost in my yard and I'll get flat tires. Kids step on them. And it comes right apart. As it is, I didn't look out and get a clean piece of fence that would actually fit between these poles. So, I found another piece of fence and I'm just going to weave it together just like taking them apart. I put in the gate and set up the best I can level it on this uneven ground. I might have to put a little bit of cement down there to keep the dogs from squeezing out there. The other side looks good and it opens and closes very nicely. Last thing I'm going to do is put in the top rail. This will stabilize this pole. Whenever I put the pressure on and the tension on this, it kind of pushes the pole a little bit. There's a little bit of play in it. And what the top rail will do is it will put pressure back on the fence and push this pole out so it's upright better than it is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the pole a little bit past where it's going to fit in there. And at that point I'll pull the post back a little bit, pop it into place, and that'll put the pressure back on the fence and not the pole. I'm going to mark it a little bit farther, kind of over this area. That way I can have the nice pressure. I have the pole marked approximately where I need it. I'm going to take the Sawzall and cut it at that point. Oops. Another disadvantage not having that third hand. Cut this piece a little bit long, but it's going to go in there and this pole is going to get pushed back, so it should fit in nicely. You're going to have to put it in at an angle. It's going to be hard to do with one hand. I'll also have to push the pole back simultaneously. So stop recording while I'm doing it. I'm using this as extended leverage so I can get some pressure on the pole itself. I'll pop it into place. That way it pushes the pole back into the place it was originally cemented. And I'll just tighten these up.
Okay.
I said the top rail was the last thing I got to do. Well, there's potentially a couple more things. I did not plan on additional fence posts for the short little structure such as this. However, if this becomes an issue where you can push out of this or whatnot, after I get it secured from the top with these wires, I could put an additional fence post at a later time. What I would do at this point, since it's just for little dogs, I would find the middle point in this fence. I would hammer this into the ground to where the top is even with the post, with the top rail. and run the top rail through here to add just a little bit more stability to the fence. However, like I said, this is a fairly small fence. It's going to hold in little tiny dogs. I don't think I'm going to need them, but that's what I would do if I did need them, find out I need them in the future. Every 1.5 feet or 2 feet or so, I'm taking one of these fence ties, attach it to part of the fence and wrap it around, and attach it to the other part of the fence. You can see that. And basically what that does is just keep it from being as clanky. Secures it to the top rail a little bit better. And if I did decide to put a support rail in, you'd do the same thing about 3 times down the middle, just to keep the fence from having so much give. And here's my little afternoon, little 2-day project. Miniature dog yard. Boom Pals app, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if I'm doing something terribly wrong, just tell me. I know it's not beautiful, but I don't really care about the beautifulness of it. I just want it to work.
And a little igloo in the corner.
Yeah, we gotta get that igloo pressure washed. Here they are. I'm gonna see if it has any weaknesses. Leave them out here for a little bit. Believe it or not, that fat one over there is the one that escapes from everything. I don't know how he does it.
Rib cage, like.
He's like a snake. If he could fit his head through there, he can get his whole body in.